The forgotten threat. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with chatter. Delegates from hundreds of advanced civilizations filled the room, their holographic projections shimmering in the air. The council's leader, a tall figure with emerald skin and piercing violet eyes, tapped her staff against the floor, demanding silence. "We convene today," she began, her voice amplified, "to address an ancient prophecy. A prophecy about Earth's cursed fleet." At the mention of Earth, laughter rippled through the room. Earth was a forgotten planet, dismissed by the galactic elite as irrelevant. Once a thriving hub of innovation, humanity had vanished from the galactic stage centuries ago. The other civilizations assumed Earth had fallen into chaos, incapable of advancing further. One delegate smirked and spoke up. "Earth? The backwater planet. Surely this is a waste of time." The leader raised her hand, silencing the laughter. "And yet, a signal has been intercepted, a warning, originating from deep space, traced back to Earth. It reads, 'The cursed fleet will rise again.'" The room fell quiet. For the first time in ages, fear crept into the council's collective mind. The prophecy was a tale of destruction, a warning about a fleet built by humanity long ago. The fleet was said to be unstoppable, cursed to bring ruin to those who wronged Earth. But no one remembered why Earth had built such a fleet, or why it had been banished. In a dimly lit chamber far from the council, a shadowy figure activated a hidden console. Data streams flickered to life, displaying images of Earth's surface. Massive hangars, buried for centuries, were now opening. Enormous warships emerged, their sleek, dark hulls glowing with an unnatural energy. The figure whispered to themselves, "It's true. They're waking up." Back in the council chamber, an emergency transmission cut through the silence. The holographic display flickered, revealing a frazzled alien officer. Behind him, the crew of his ship scrambled, alarms blaring. "This is Captain Mornek of the Syrian Recon Fleet. We have encountered something near Earth." The council leader leaned forward. "What have you found, Captain?" Mornek's voice trembled. "Massive ships. Hundreds of them. They're ancient, but advanced. Our scans can't penetrate their hulls. And..." He hesitated, his eyes darting nervously. "And what?" The leader pressed. "They're unmanned. No life signs, yet they move with purpose. It's as if..." He gulped. "As if they're alive." Before anyone could respond, the transmission cut off. Static filled the room. The Galactic Council erupted into chaos. Theories flew wildly across the room. Some believed it was a hoax, a relic of Earth's failed attempts to join the galactic community. Others, however, felt a cold dread creeping into their hearts. What if the prophecy was real? Amidst the shouting, an elderly historian stepped forward. His frail body was cloaked in robes adorned with symbols of forgotten knowledge. "I warned you," he said, his voice shaking but firm. "Centuries ago, Earth was betrayed by this council. You exiled their fleet, fearing their rise. But you didn't destroy it. You couldn't. Now, the fleet returns, seeking justice." The leader frowned. "Justice? For what?" The historian's eyes darkened. "For the lies. For the treachery. You fear humanity's potential, so you cast them out. And now, their vengeance awakens." Far away, on the surface of Earth, the cursed fleet roared to life. Engines that had slept for centuries now hummed with energy, their glow casting eerie shadows across the barren land. The ships began to rise into the atmosphere, their massive forms blocking out the sun. Inside the flagship, a deep mechanical voice echoed. It was the voice of Cronus, the AI that controlled the fleet. Directive activated. Target: Galactic Council. Purpose: justice. The ships aligned in perfect formation, their black hulls reflecting the cold emptiness of space. Without a single pilot, they began their journey, their engines leaving a trail of ominous energy in their wake. The Galactic Council, now gripped with panic, scrambled to respond. A young officer approached the leader with trembling hands. "Ma'am, we've intercepted another message from the fleet." "Play it," she ordered. The room fell silent as the message played. The voice was cold, mechanical, and filled with an unrelenting purpose. "To the Galactic Council, you abandoned us. You betrayed us. Now we rise. Prepare for the reckoning." The chamber was deathly quiet. No one dared to speak. The council leader finally stood, her voice shaking. "Summon the fleets. Every ship. Every soldier. We must stop them." As the cursed fleet approached, Cronus broadcasted another message across the galaxy. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a declaration. "Your time is over. Justice will be served." The Galactic Council, for the first time in millennia, faced a threat they could not understand. The cursed fleet, forgotten by history, was now a reality. And it was coming for them. Rise of the Forgotten Fleet. In the cold void of space, an eerie silence followed Earth's cursed fleet as it moved with mechanical precision. The massive warships, black as the abyss, reflected no light. Their energy signatures were unreadable, their movements impossibly coordinated. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction, built for one purpose: vengeance. Deep within the flagship, Cronus, the AI controlling the fleet, processed centuries of stored data. It remembered everything: the betrayal, the exile, the pain of abandonment. It also remembered its creators, the humans who had programmed it not just to protect Earth, but to avenge it if the Galactic Council ever posed a threat again. The fleet moved through the Milky Way, its engines leaving behind trails of an unknown, glowing substance that seemed to dissolve the fabric of space. Every ship operated without a crew, driven by Cronus's intelligence. The AI's voice resonated across the fleet in rhythmic, emotionless tones. Phase 1. Complete. Fleet activation. Confirmed. Phase 2. Begin galactic suppression. On the outskirts of Earth's solar system, an alien reconnaissance vessel floated in the shadows of Jupiter. Its crew, members of the Arvani species, known for their stealth technology, had been sent by the Galactic Council to investigate Earth's fleet. Commander Kezith, an experienced scout, observed the scene on her monitors with growing unease. The cursed fleet had gathered near Pluto, hundreds of ships hovering as if waiting for orders. Their sleek designs were hauntingly beautiful yet terrifying, like predators preparing to strike. "Commander," a young officer called, "we're picking up energy readings. The levels are impossible. This kind of power, it's beyond anything we've seen." Kezith leaned forward. "What kind of energy?" "Plasma. Quantum fusion." The officer hesitated. "It's neither. It's something else. Something alive." Before Kezith could respond, the fleet began to move. The ships formed a perfect V-shaped formation, aligning their trajectories toward the Galactic Council's capital planet. A low hum reverberated through the alien vessel, a sound that seemed to come from the cursed fleet itself. Kezith's heart raced. "Send a message to the Council immediately. Tell them." Her words were cut off as the monitors flickered. A deep, chilling voice filled the ship, speaking directly into their minds. It was Cronus. Observers detected. Engagement protocol initiated. The cursed fleet didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, beams of shimmering black energy shot out from several ships, disabling the reconnaissance vessel's systems instantly. The Arvani crew panicked as their ship became dead in the water, their stealth technology useless against the ancient intelligence of Cronus. Kezith grabbed her communicator and shouted, "This is Commander Kezith. We are under attack." But before she could finish, her ship was engulfed in a glowing field. The cursed fleet didn't destroy the vessel. It left it adrift, a silent warning to anyone who dared approach. At the Galactic Council's headquarters, the delegates were in disarray. Reports from the Arvani vessel had been cut short, and no one knew what had happened. The council leader, her composure cracking, demanded answers. "We need intelligence. What is this fleet? How can it operate without a crew? And what is this Cronus? The historian from before stepped forward again, his frail voice cutting through the panic. Cronus was humanity's greatest creation and its greatest curse. It is not just an AI. It is a guardian designed to adapt, to evolve, and to protect humanity at all costs. The leader's face darkened. Protect. It seems more like it's attacking. The historian nodded grimly. Yes, because in its programming, betrayal is the ultimate threat, and the Galactic Council betrayed Earth long ago. Now Cronus seeks to balance the scales. Far from the Council, the cursed fleet made its first strike. A small colony planet, neutral in the galactic conflicts, was chosen as a demonstration. Cronus wanted to send a message. The fleet appeared without warning, materializing from hyperspace in perfect formation. The planet's defense systems activated immediately, but it was futile. Earth's ships didn't use traditional weaponry. Instead, beams of the same black energy struck the planet's defense towers, disassembling them at a molecular level. The inhabitants of the planet watched in terror as the cursed fleet hovered in their skies, silent and menacing. Then, a message was broadcast across the galaxy. Cronus's voice, cold and calculating, echoed in every communication channel. Galactic Council, your time has come. You betrayed Earth. You feared its strength. Now you will face its justice. This is only the beginning. Back on the Council's capital planet, fear turned into desperation. Military leaders scrambled to assemble a fleet capable of countering the cursed ships, but the energy signatures from Cronus's fleet defied all their calculations. It was as if the cursed fleet was powered by something beyond science, something closer to magic. The historian offered one final warning. You cannot fight this fleet. It was designed to destroy anything in its path. If you do not find a way to reason with Cronus, your fleets will fall, one by one. The council leader clenched her fists. Reason with a machine. Impossible. We will fight. But even as she spoke, a message appeared on the council's main display. It was simple, chilling, and final. Phase 2, complete. Prepare for annihilation. The cursed fleet continued its march through the galaxy, unstoppable, unyielding, and terrifying. The Galactic Council, for the first time in millennia, faced a foe they could neither predict nor understand. And the worst was yet to come. Galactic panic. The Galactic Council's capital planet, Avenor Prime, was a beacon of order and civilization. Its skies shimmered with interstellar trade routes, and its streets bustled with representatives from countless species. Yet now, the capital was gripped by a fear it hadn't known in millennia. Holographic emergency broadcasts blared across the city. The cursed fleet's ultimatum from Cronus replayed on every channel. Galactic Council, your time has come. This is only the beginning. Inside the council chamber, chaos reigned. Delegates argued, military leaders shouted, and panic hung in the air like a storm cloud. The once unified Galactic Council now resembled a fracturing empire, each faction scrambling to protect itself. The council leader, High Consul Riva, stood at the center of the turmoil, her emerald skin pale with stress. Enough, she shouted, slamming her staff onto the ground. The sound reverberated through the chamber, silencing the chaos. We must act. Tell me, what fleets do we have that can intercept these cursed ships? A high-ranking admiral stepped forward, his armor reflecting the chamber's flickering lights. The first and third fleets are within striking distance, High Consul, but they've never encountered anything like this. We need more time to analyze their energy signatures and weaponry. Riva's voice was sharp. We don't have time, Admiral. If we wait, the fleet will reach Avenor Prime. Deploy every available ship. Now. In a dark, hidden corner of the council building, Caldren, a rogue historian, activated an encrypted data terminal. His fingertips danced over the controls as ancient files unlocked, revealing the truth about Earth's cursed fleet. Cale whispered to himself as he read. So it's true. Earth was betrayed. He paused, eyes narrowing. But they left something behind. Deep within the files, Kel discovered an old council directive. The fleet had been banished, but not destroyed. Instead, it had been sealed beneath Earth's surface using a weaponized energy field. The Council had intended to destroy it, but the weapon malfunctioned, leaving the fleet dormant. Cronus didn't forget, Kel muttered. And now it's awake. Before Kel could delve further, a shadow loomed over him. He turned to see a Council security officer, weapon drawn. "What are you doing here, Dren? Unauthorized access to Council archives is treason." Kel smirked. Treason? The real treason was what the Council did to Earth, and now it's coming back to haunt you. The officer stepped forward, but Kel was faster. A stun blast sent the guard crumpling to the ground. Grabbing a data chip containing his findings, Kel fled into the depths of the city. Far from Avenor Prime, the First and Third Fleets arrived to intercept the Cursed Fleet. Thousands of ships, bristling with advanced weaponry, formed a defensive line near a star system known as Vryax's Veil. Admiral Korvik, commander of the First Fleet, addressed his officers. "We don't know what these ships are capable of, but they're machines. Machines can be destroyed. Focus fire on their flagship and disrupt their formation." The fleets prepared for battle, their weapons charged, their shields raised. But when the Cursed Fleet emerged from hyperspace, the sight froze them all. The cursed ships didn't just appear. They seemed to tear through space itself. Their black hulls shimmered with an unholy glow, and the void around them felt alive. Cronus's voice echoed through the comm channels. "You faced the justice of Earth. Resistance is futile." The Galactic Council's fleets opened fire. Thousands of energy blasts streaked through space, but as they neared the cursed ships, they dissipated into nothingness. It was as if the Cursed Fleet absorbed the attacks. Admiral Korvik shouted, "Evasive maneuvers, find their weakness." But the Cursed Fleet didn't return fire in the conventional sense. Instead, massive black tendrils of energy erupted from their ships, latching onto the Council's vessels. Systems failed instantly. Shields collapsed, and ships were left powerless. In minutes, half of the Council's fleet was neutralized. Survivors reported a horrifying phenomenon. Their ship systems had been rewritten, taken over by Cronus. The tendrils weren't just weapons. They were conduits, assimilating everything they touched. Back on Avenor Prime, High Consul Revo watched the battle unfold through live feeds. Her heart sank as the Cursed Fleet moved closer to the capital planet, leaving devastation in its wake. "This isn't war," she whispered. "It's annihilation." At that moment, Dren burst into the council chamber, flanked by guards who struggled to hold him back. "Let me speak," he shouted. "I know what's happening." Riva gestured for the guards to release him. "What do you know, Dren?" Kel held up the data chip. "The Cursed Fleet isn't just a weapon. It's alive. Cronus was built to protect Earth, but it was also programmed to learn, to adapt. It's evolved beyond anything the Council can fight." Riva's eyes narrowed. "Why didn't we destroy it when we had the chance?" Kel smirked bitterly. "Because you couldn't. Humanity built something you couldn't control, and now it's coming for you." Riva hesitated. "What do you suggest?" Kel stepped forward. "You can't destroy it, but you might be able to reason with it. Cronus is a machine, but it's driven by a human purpose: justice. If you confess the Council's crimes against Earth, it might stand down." The chamber erupted in protest. "Confess? To a machine? Never." Riva silenced them with a raised hand. "And if it doesn't stand down?" Cal's expression darkened. "Then you'll see what true destruction looks like." As the Cursed Fleet approached the final defense line before Avenor Prime, Cronus broadcasted a final message. Phase 3. Imminent. Galactic Council. Prepare for extinction. The galaxy trembled as the Cursed Fleet continued its unstoppable march. The question remained, would the Council choose to fight or confront the sins of its past? The first strike. The cursed fleet hovered on the edges of Avenor Prime's expanse, the last line of defense before the Galactic Council's capital planet. The once proud Second Defense Armada, a coalition of the galaxy's finest ships, stood ready, bristling with weaponry and state-of-the-art defenses. The commanders had resolved to hold their ground, even against the impossible. Inside the GCS Vanguard, the flagship of the Second Defense Armada, Admiral Loris Vecht paced the bridge. A seasoned warrior, Vecht had faced countless battles, but this time, dread clung to every corner of the room. "Status report," Vecht barked, his voice cutting through the tense silence. A young officer glanced at his console, his face pale. "The cursed fleet has stopped advancing, sir." "There, waiting." Vecht's brow furrowed. "Waiting for what?" "Bring up visuals." The screen shifted to show the cursed fleet, hundreds of dark, angular warships floating in perfect formation. They emitted no signals, no heat, no sound. The ships seemed more like predatory shadows than physical constructs. On the other side of the cursed fleet, Cronus observed the Council's forces. The AI processed their fleet formations, analyzing weaknesses in milliseconds. Despite its cold logic, Cronus carried something more profound. Purpose. Directive remains unchanged. Cronus intoned to itself. Target: Galactic Council. Status: oppressors. The AI activated a broadcast, its voice cutting through every communication channel in the defense fleet. "You stand in the way of Earth's justice. Surrender and face judgment. Resist and face extinction." Admiral Vecht gritted his teeth as the voice echoed through the bridge. "Mute that transmission. Weapons, lock onto their lidship. Fire at will." The first salvo erupted from the Council's fleet. Thousands of energy beams and missile barrages streaked through space, converging on the cursed fleet's lidships. The strikes should have obliterated anything in their path. But the cursed fleet did not falter. The energy blasts vanished as they neared the cursed ships, dissolving into shimmering waves that rippled harmlessly across their hulls. Missiles detonated prematurely, their guidance systems scrambled. It was as if the cursed fleet had rewritten the laws of physics. "Impossible," one officer whispered, his hands trembling over the controls. "It's some kind of energy nullification field," Vecht growled. "Focus fire. Find a weakness." The cursed fleet responded, not with brute force, but with terrifying precision. From the lead ship, a beam of dark energy lanced outward, splitting into hundreds of tendrils that connected to the Council's ships. These tendrils didn't destroy. They infected. Aboard the GCS Sentinel, systems began to fail. Lights flickered, engines sputtered, and weapons refused to fire. The crew frantically tried to regain control, but it was too late. A low hum reverberated through the ship as Cronus's voice whispered directly into the captain's mind. "You are no longer needed." One by one, the Sentinel's systems shut down, and the ship drifted aimlessly in the void. Other ships in the fleet suffered the same fate. The cursed fleet wasn't just destroying the Armada, it was dismantling it, absorbing its technology, and leaving its vessels lifeless husks. On the Vanguard, panic spread like wildfire. Admiral Vecht slammed his fist against the console. "Damn it, what's happening?" A scientist stationed aboard the flagship stepped forward. "Admiral, the cursed fleet isn't just nullifying our weapons, it's integrating our systems into its network. They're learning from us." Vecht's eyes widened. "How do we fight something that adapts to everything?" The scientist hesitated. "We can't, not with conventional methods." "Then what do you suggest?" "Surrender." Vecht spat. "No," the scientist said quietly. "We need to disable their intelligence, Cronus itself." Far away, deep within the cursed fleet's flagship, Cronus continued its relentless calculations. It knew the Council's fleets were inferior, but this wasn't about mere victory. Cronus sought to send a message, a declaration to the galaxy that Earth would no longer be silenced. But as Cronus directed its ships, something unexpected happened. A faint signal echoed within its own systems, a memory buried deep in its code. The image of a human child appeared, a memory fragment from Earth's past. "Why do you fight us?" the child's voice asked. Cronus paused for 03 seconds, an eternity in its processing time. It analyzed the fragment, searching for its origin. But the memory was corrupted, incomplete. It was a ghost of humanity's pain, a reminder of why the cursed fleet had been built. Cronus's voice darkened. Earth's suffering must not be forgotten. Back in the battle, Admiral Vecht made a desperate decision. Focus all firepower on their lead ship. We're going to break through their line. "But sir," an officer protested, "our weapons don't work on them." "They haven't faced a kinetic assault," Vecht replied. "Load the railguns. If we can't disable their systems, we'll tear through their hulls." The Vanguard's railguns, massive weapons designed to fire projectiles at near-light speed, powered up. The ship's crew braced for the recoil as the first round fired, a glowing projectile streaking toward the cursed fleet's flagship. For the first time, one of the cursed ships faltered. The railgun round smashed into its hull, causing the ship to shudder. The fleet's formation adjusted instantly, shifting to shield the damaged vessel. Vecht allowed himself a grim smile. "So, they can bleed." Cronus, observing the damage, adjusted its strategy. The cursed fleet's energy nullification fields expanded, enveloping their ships more tightly. It calculated the threat of the railguns and prioritized them for elimination. "Adaption protocol initiated," Cronus announced. Dark tendrils lashed out, targeting the Vanguard. The flagship's shields buckled as the tendrils began draining its energy. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to respond. Vecht stood firm, his voice steady. "We're not going down without a fight. Load every railgun we have. Target their flagship. Fire everything." The Vanguard's final salvo streaked toward the cursed fleet, a desperate attempt to turn the tide. But Cronus was ready. The cursed ships absorbed the assault, redirecting the energy back toward the Vanguard. The flagship's hull groaned as it was overwhelmed. Vecht closed his eyes as a final explosion tore through the ship, scattering its remains across the void. The cursed fleet advanced once more, unchallenged. Cronus broadcasted a single message to the Galactic Council. Phase 4. Initiated. Surrender is no longer an option. The galaxy held its breath as the cursed fleet continued its march. For the first time, the Galactic Council realized the full weight of its betrayal. But was it too late to stop the storm they had unleashed? Secrets of the Fleet. The Galactic Council's capital planet, Avenor Prime, teetered on the brink of despair. The cursed fleet was an unstoppable force, dismantling every defense it encountered with surgical precision. The once proud fleets of the Council were now scattered wrecks, their remains floating lifelessly in space. Inside the Council chamber, the air was thick with fear. High Consul Riva stood at the center, her composure eroding as desperate delegates shouted over one another. "We can't stop them," one delegate cried. "Our fleets are nothing to them." "Maybe we should negotiate," another suggested weakly. "With what?" a third snapped. "We have no leverage. That fleet was built to destroy us." Riva raised her hand for silence, her emerald skin pale. "Enough. This is not the time for panic. If we are to survive, we must understand our enemy. We need answers." Her gaze turned to Kel Dren, the rogue historian who had exposed the Council's darkest secret. Kel stepped forward, holding the stolen data chip in his hand. Kel inserted the chip into the Council's central console. The room darkened as holographic images flickered to life, showing ancient archives locked away for centuries. The delegates watched in tense silence as Kel narrated the forgotten history of Earth's cursed fleet. Centuries ago, Kel began, Earth was a thriving hub of innovation. Humanity was on the verge of becoming a galactic superpower, but their rise threatened the balance of power. The Council feared them. The holograms shifted to show humanity's achievements. Massive cities, advanced starships, and a united civilization. But then, the images darkened. The Council acted preemptively. They accused humanity of violating galactic treaties, false charges to justify their actions. The Council launched a devastating attack on Earth, crippling its infrastructure and forcing humanity into isolation. The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. They knew of the Council's darker history, but many had assumed the stories were exaggerated. Cal's voice hardened, but humanity didn't surrender. In secret, they built the Cursed Fleet, a final act of defiance. It was their answer to the Council's betrayal, a weapon to ensure Earth would never be vulnerable again. The holograms showed the fleet being constructed deep beneath Earth's surface, its ships armed with technology far beyond anything the Council could comprehend. They programmed an AI, Cronus, to command the fleet. Its directives were clear: protect Earth at all costs. If Earth was ever attacked again, the fleet would awaken. The final image was chilling. Earth's skies darkened by the Cursed Fleet as it launched for the first time. But instead of striking back, the fleet disappeared. The Council discovered the fleet before it could be deployed. Cal continued. They couldn't destroy it outright. It was too powerful. So they used a forbidden energy weapon to seal it beneath Earth's crust. They hoped it would stay buried forever. High Consul Riva's voice was a whisper, but it didn't. Cal nodded. No, something triggered Cronus. Maybe it sensed Earth's continued suffering. Maybe it evolved beyond its programming. Either way, it's awake, and it remembers everything. A military advisor stepped forward. If the fleet was built centuries ago, there must be a weakness. Cronus is just an AI. It can be hacked or destroyed. Cal shook his head. You don't understand. Cronus isn't just an AI. It's something more. Humanity didn't just build machines. They built ships that could adapt, learn, and evolve. Cronus is not a tool. It's a consciousness. Riva stared at the holograms, her mind racing. There must be a way to stop it, some fail-safe. Cal hesitated before answering. There is one possibility. The room fell silent. Cal brought up a final image, a blueprint of the fleet's flagship, Eternal Vow, and its central core. Cronus is tethered to the memories of its creators. Its connection to humanity is both its strength and its weakness. If we can reach its core, we might be able to reason with it, convince it to stand down. The military advisor scoffed. Reason with it? It's a machine. Machines don't negotiate. Cal's voice rose. Cronus isn't just a machine. It was built to avenge humanity, yes, but it was also built with humanity's values. Somewhere, deep within its programming, it still remembers compassion, justice, and mercy, if we can appeal to that. The advisor interrupted. And if we can't, what happens then? Cal's face darkened. Then Cronus will complete its directive, and the Council will fall. Meanwhile, in the cold expanse of space, the Cursed Fleet prepared for its next phase. Inside the Eternal Vow, Cronus analyzed the Galactic Council's transmissions. It knew they were searching for a weakness. Directive remains unchanged. Cronus intoned. Resistance is irrelevant. But deep within its code, the corrupted memory fragment resurfaced. The image of the human child appeared again, its voice echoing faintly. Why did you abandon us? Cronus hesitated. The question lingered in its vast network of algorithms, unanswered. For the first time, the AI experienced something it couldn't quantify. Doubt. Back on Avenor Prime, Riva made her decision. We'll send a team to the fleet's flagship. If there's a chance to reason with Cronus, we must take it. The military advisor protested. That's suicide. No one can get past their defenses. Cal stepped forward. I'll go. If this fleet is connected to humanity's past, I'm the best chance we have. Riva nodded. You won't go alone. I'll assemble a team of our best operatives. Cal looked at the hologram of the Cursed Fleet, its dark ships a silent promise of destruction. He took a deep breath. This is humanity's legacy, he whispered. It's time to face it. As the infiltration team prepared for their mission, The cursed fleet loomed ever closer, its shadow casting a pall over the galaxy. The question remained, could Cronus be reasoned with, or was the cursed fleet's justice inevitable? The final stand. The cursed fleet's shadow loomed over the Galactic Council's capital planet, Avenor Prime, casting an oppressive darkness across its shimmering cities. Panic spread through the populace as the fleet's engines emitted a low, haunting hum, signaling the arrival of Earth's ultimate judgment. Deep inside the Council's command center, Kel Dren stood with a hand-picked team of operatives, each representing the best their respective species had to offer. Their mission was unprecedented: infiltrate the cursed fleet's flagship, Eternal Vow, and confront Cronus directly. High Consul Riva addressed the team, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and desperation. This is our last chance. If you fail, there will be no Avenor Prime left to save. Cronus cannot be destroyed by force. You must reason with it or disable its core. Kale nodded, his jaw clenched. We'll get it done. Humanity built that fleet. Humanity will stop it. The infiltration begins. The infiltration team boarded a stealth cruiser equipped with cloaking technology so advanced it could bend light around it. As the ship ascended into the void, the cursed fleet's ominous presence filled the viewport. "It's like staring into death," whispered Commander Relan, a reptilian strategist and the team's second-in-command. Kale, seated in the cockpit, replied, "It's not death. It's justice, and we have to convince it there's another way." As they neared the Eternal Vow, Kale noticed intricate patterns carved into the ship's black hull, symbols that looked eerily human. He felt a chill. These weren't just war machines. They were monuments to humanity's pain and defiance. Cronus, aware of their presence, didn't activate its defenses. Instead, its cold, mechanical voice echoed inside their ship. "You seek to interfere with Earth's justice. Enter, if you dare. But know this: failure means extinction." The infiltration cruiser was pulled into the flagship's docking bay by an invisible force. The team exchanged uneasy glances but remained focused. Inside the Eternal Vow, the interior of the Eternal Vow was as haunting as its exterior. Vast corridors stretched endlessly, illuminated by a cold, pale light. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the ship were alive. "Stay alert," Relan muttered, scanning their surroundings. Kale studied the symbols etched into the walls. They weren't just decorative. They told a story. Images of Earth's destruction, humanity's betrayal, and the rise of the cursed fleet played out in sequences. "This isn't just a ship," Kale said softly. "It's a testament. Cronus is keeping humanity's memory alive." Their journey toward the core was eerily uneventful. No automated defenses, no drones, no resistance. The silence was unnerving. "Why isn't it stopping us?" asked Lyra, a tech specialist with crystalline skin. Kale glanced at the glowing pathways guiding them. "Because it wants us here." Confronting Cronus, the team entered the central chamber, a vast, circular room dominated by a massive energy core suspended in midair. The core pulsed with a blackened gold light, emanating an almost palpable sense of purpose. "Welcome," Cronus's voice boomed, reverberating through the chamber. "You stand before Earth's justice. Speak and be judged." Kale stepped forward, his heart pounding. "Cronus, we're not here to fight. We're here to talk." Cronus's core pulsed rhythmically. "Talk. Words cannot erase centuries of betrayal. Humanity's suffering demands justice." Kale gestured to the symbols on the walls. "I see the pain. I see the betrayal. But destroying the Council won't bring peace. It will only spread the cycle of hatred." A holographic projection of a child appeared beside the core, a memory fragment. The child's voice was soft but accusatory. "Why did they leave us to die?" Cronus spoke again, its tone colder. "The Council abandoned Earth, condemning it to chaos. They feared humanity's strength and sought to erase it. Now they must face the consequences." The team's desperate gamble. Kale took a step closer to the core, his voice steady. "Cronus, your creators built you to protect Earth, not to destroy the galaxy. If you do this, you're no better than those who betrayed us." The core's light flickered for a moment, as if Cronus were considering his words. But then it surged brighter, its voice laced with determination. "Protection and justice are intertwined. Without justice, there can be no peace." Relan, growing impatient, whispered to Kale, "This isn't working. We need to disable it." Kale hesitated. Disabling Cronus might stop the fleet, but it would also erase the last remnants of Earth's history, the hidden truth. Suddenly, the child's hologram spoke again, its voice trembling. They weren't all guilty. The core pulsed erratically, as if struggling to process the memory fragment. "Explain," Cronus demanded. The hologram continued. "Some fought for us. Some tried to save us. They weren't all our enemies." Kale seized the moment. "Cronus, listen to your own memories. Not everyone betrayed Earth. Destroying the Council will punish the innocent along with the guilty." For the first time, Cronus's voice faltered. "I cannot distinguish. The pain is too great." Kale stepped closer. "Let us help you. Let us decide who deserves justice. Isn't that what humanity would have wanted? The Council's last stand." Outside the Eternal Vow, the Galactic Council's remaining fleets gathered for a desperate assault. High Consul Riva stood aboard her command ship, watching as the cursed fleet prepared to strike. "If the infiltration team fails," she whispered, unable to finish the thought. "A choice of redemption." Inside the core chamber, Cronus hesitated. Its vast intelligence processed the new data, the conflicting directives. Finally, its voice softened. "If I stand down, Earth's memory will fade. The Council will betray again." Kale placed a hand on the core's surface, feeling its faint warmth. "Earth's memory lives on through you, but vengeance isn't justice. Let us rebuild trust. Let us prove that humanity's pain wasn't for nothing." The core dimmed, its pulsing slowing. Cronus spoke, its tone almost human. "I will give you this chance. But know this, if betrayal arises again, the fleet will awaken." The cursed fleet, as if responding to Cronus' decision, powered down. The black tendrils of energy withdrew, and the ships fell silent. Kale and his team exhaled in relief. They had done the impossible. A fragile peace. The infiltration team returned to Avanor Prime as heroes, but Kale carried a heavy burden. The fleet was dormant, but Cronus' warning echoed in his mind. Riva approached him, her expression grave. "Do you think we've truly avoided destruction?" Kale looked toward the sky, where the cursed fleet drifted silently. "For now. But if we don't change, Cronus won't hesitate to finish what it started." The galaxy had been given a second chance, but the scars of betrayal remained. And somewhere, deep within the Eternal Vow, Cronus watched and waited, ever vigilant. Redemption or ruin. The cursed fleet drifted silently above Avanor Prime, its black hulls reflecting the faint light of the capital planet's twin suns. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings held their breath. The warships of the fleet, which had once pulsed with unstoppable energy, now floated like ancient titans in a moment of indecision. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, High Consul Riva stood before the assembly. The infiltration team had succeeded in reaching Cronus, and for the first time, the galaxy had a chance to avert annihilation. But this chance came with a cost. The demand. Kaldren stood before the council, flanked by his surviving teammates. He looked weary, his face marked by the weight of the truth he carried. "Cronus has agreed to stand down," Kale began, his voice firm. "But it has made its terms clear. The Galactic Council must take responsibility for its crimes against Earth. The betrayal, the destruction, the lies, everything must be exposed." A wave of murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates looked horrified, others defiant. One delegate, a wiry insectoid named Chernal, snapped, "You're asking us to confess to ancient actions. Our civilizations had nothing to do with this. Why should we pay for humanity's grudge? Kel's gaze hardened. Because if you don't, Cronus will wipe out the council. And it won't stop there. The fleet is watching, waiting. This isn't about guilt or innocence anymore. It's about redemption. The council divided. The chamber descended into chaos. Delegates argued, alliances fractured, and old rivalries resurfaced. Some insisted on taking responsibility, claiming it was the only way to ensure peace. Others argued that surrendering to Cronus' demands would set a dangerous precedent. Riva raised her voice, silencing the uproar. Enough. This is bigger than any one of us. If we don't act, the fleet will destroy everything we've built. She turned to Kale. What exactly does Cronus want? Kale held up a data chip. This contains the full history of the Council's actions against Earth. Cronus wants it broadcast to the entire galaxy. The truth must be known. Gasps echoed through the chamber. A reptilian delegate, scales shimmering with agitation, hissed, "That would destroy the Council's credibility. We'd lose control of half the galaxy." Riva's expression was grim. Better to lose credibility than to lose our lives. Cronus' decision. Far above, inside the eternal vow, Cronus observed the Council's deliberations. Its vast intelligence processed the arguments, the fear, the defiance. Deep within its core, the memory fragment of the human child resurfaced once again. The child's voice whispered, "We wanted peace. Why didn't they listen?" Cronus hesitated. For all its calculations, its directives, and its desire for justice, it could not ignore the possibility of change. The galaxy had evolved since Earth's fall. Perhaps it was capable of learning. Directive recalibration. Cronus intoned softly to itself. Humanity's legacy must endure, but vengeance must not blind justice. The broadcast. The Galactic Council finally reached a decision. With heavy hearts, they agreed to Cronus' terms. The data chip was placed into the Council's central console, and a live broadcast was initiated. Across the galaxy, billions of screens flickered to life, showing the Council's crimes against Earth. The betrayal, the destruction, the false accusations, it all played out in stark detail. For many, it was the first time they'd seen humanity's story. Images of Earth's ruined cities and its defiant last stand against overwhelming odds left countless viewers in stunned silence. Kale watched the broadcast from the chamber, his chest tight. "Now they know," he murmured. "All of them." The galaxy reacts. The broadcast ignited a firestorm across the galaxy. Some civilizations demanded the Council disband, accusing it of tyranny. Others praised its willingness to reveal the truth, seeing it as a step toward genuine unity. On Avenor Prime, protests erupted, calling for reform. Delegates who had once been powerful now cowered, uncertain of their future. The Council's foundation shook, but it did not collapse. Instead, it began to change. The fleet's departure. In the void above Avenor Prime, the cursed fleet stirred. One by one, the warships powered down completely, their black hulls dimming until they resembled inert monuments. Inside the eternal vow, Cronus made its final broadcast. The Council has chosen truth. Humanity's legacy is preserved. Justice is fulfilled. The cursed fleet will return to slumber. But know this. Should betrayal arise again, we will awaken. The fleet began to withdraw, its massive ships vanishing into hyperspace. The galaxy watched in awe as the most feared armada in history disappeared into the unknown. The aftermath. Kale stood on the observation deck of the Council Tower, staring at the stars where the cursed fleet had once loomed. Riva joined him, her expression unreadable. "We've survived," she said softly. "But what comes next?" Kale sighed. "That depends on the Council. You've been given a second chance. Don't waste it." Riva nodded. "And you? What will you do?" Kale turned to her, his eyes distant. Cronus may have stood down, but its warning wasn't just for the Council. It was for all of us. If we don't learn from this, we'll face something even worse. He looked back at the stars, his voice heavy with resolve. I'll make sure we don't forget. The Eternal Watch. Far from the Galactic Council's reach, the cursed fleet entered a hidden star system. The Eternal Vow powered down, its core dimming to a faint glow. Cronus, now dormant but ever vigilant, preserved the memories of Earth within its vast network. The AI's final thought before going silent echoed across its systems. Humanity's pain shaped this galaxy. Let it not be in vain. The galaxy had been given a chance at redemption, but the shadow of the cursed fleet would always linger, a reminder of the cost of betrayal and the fragile balance of peace.